Am I the jerk? My friend has taken personal offense to the fact that I go to therapy. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain this the best way I can. My friend and I were texting, and I had mentioned that I might stop going to therapy because it's expensive, and I have other things I need to pay for right now. But then I said, maybe I'll just go less, like once a month or something, because it's nice to have someone to talk to. She said something along the lines of, well, you can always talk to friends instead. I've told you that before. I tried talking to my friends about my problems for years, and it never got me anywhere. A friend is not equivalent to a therapist by any means, at least not in my opinion. So I said, yeah, but friends tend to complain with you and can be biased, whereas a therapist gives you real solutions, strategies, coping mechanisms, etc. I thought we were just having a normal, honest conversation, and that is my honest opinion. I like going to therapy. It's not a miracle worker, but it has helped me. My therapist has given me lots of strategies to use for my anxiety and negative situations in my life. So I guess what I said offended her. She then goes, as I said, maybe you've gotten what you needed and paid enough to be told the same things that, well, that I've told you. But I'm sorry I haven't been better aid. And more guilt-tripping sentences dripping with sarcasm. Like, girl, you haven't taught me any strategies for my anxiety. You haven't taught me about negative thinking patterns or coping mechanisms. My therapist did. That doesn't make you a bad friend. That makes you a normal friend and a normal person. I wasn't insulting you. I was simply saying I like my therapist. She then says stuff like, I tried to help you, but I guess it's not good enough. I'm done trying. And you're complaining about not being able to afford therapy. Meanwhile, I can't afford to eat. Like, okay? I have a job and you don't. I pay for things with the money I earn. I'm sorry you're in a bad financial state right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to go to therapy. I genuinely don't understand. She then referred to my therapist as a professional in quotations. My therapist obviously went to school for 6 years in order to become one. She has a master's degree and has taken all kinds of classes so that she's able to do this job. That is a professional. No need to be sarcastic about it. It seems to me that she's jealous of my therapist because I'd rather talk to her about issues than anyone else. Like I said, talking to friends has never helped me. It's put a band-aid on things, but I have issues I do need to talk to a professional about. I want to get better, and talking to friends is never going to do that for me. This friend was also angry with me when I declined to move in with her and said I'd rather live on my own. You acted correctly. Your friend seems to have a weird inferiority complex. Like you said, your therapist studied for 6 years. She's impartial and knowledgeable. It's ironic that your friend thinks she's better than a therapist when she could benefit from therapy herself. Some people, man, try to make others feel bad instead of fostering a healthy discussion. Am I the jerk for having a conflict with my significant other? So, background. I am a 36-year-old male with a 32-year-old female best friend. We have known each other for 14 years and have supported each other through many significant events. We had a small fling 12 years ago when I was 24 and she was 20. It was just a few months of a sexual relationship, but we both agreed it did not feel right and have been just friends since. She was my roommate for about 2 years and moved out 3 years ago. Conflict. I started talking to my girlfriend, who is also 36 years old, on and off about 9 months ago, and we began dating 3 months ago. I told her all about my best friend and our history. She was definitely jealous about it, but I explained that since my friend moved out, we do not talk or hang out much due to our busy lives and growing up. My friend also has a boyfriend, so she spends time with him. We do check up on each other occasionally. I told my girlfriend that since she is not comfortable with it, we would not hang out alone at each other's houses. Instead, we would go to a movie or grab something to eat if we wanted to catch up, which happens once every few months or when a movie we both want to see comes out. My girlfriend just gave me the ultimatum that I cannot go to movies, dinner, or anything with my friend because she does not believe that a man and woman can have a platonic friendship. She says if we want to hang out, she has to be present as well. If I want to hang out with my friend, then I might as well end our relationship. I said that is a little crazy, and I understand not hanging out at each other's houses, but I feel she is not considering my history with my friend and is just being super jealous. I see my girlfriend 3 times a week and talk to her every day. So am I the asshole, or is she being too jealous? Added note. Does anyone think that going to the movies is a romantic thing? I am a big cinema person, and I know there are some movies my girlfriend would not want to go to but will because I or her kids would want to. For example, she would hate the new Deadpool movie, but my friend likes that stuff. I see movies as something to enjoy with like-minded people, and not necessarily as a romantic activity. It's pretty sexist to think that people of different sexes can't be friends, and that's a red flag. Imagine if you were bi, would they say you can't have friends of any gender? It's controlling and unhealthy for a partner to undermine friendships due to their own insecurities. If someone can't trust their partner to have platonic relationships, they might not be ready for a relationship themselves. Am I the jerk for insisting that you can travel from Nunavut to South America by foot? Okay, so I, a 36-year-old male, just got into a little spat with my friend, a 24-year-old female, as we were rewatching Game of Thrones. Jon Snow had just gone north of the Wall for the first time, and the character Craster clearly states that regarding the Mance Rayder army, there is only one place for them to go. But I disagreed. I said if they went further north, then eventually they'd get to the south. Much like if you were to, in the real world, walk from Nunavut north, you would quickly find yourself in South America. This is where it got ugly. My friend calmly attempted to explain that it would not be quick nor easy to travel such depths. The wildlings did not have the resources nor the technology we have today to make such a journey. But you see, in the real world, we do have those things that the wildlings don't. When I disagreed again, she said that she did not want to finish the rest of the show. I offered to make us some popcorn because I was starting to feel heated and thought maybe we had both overreacted. I know my friend can get grumpy when she is hungry. I told her to halt. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I told her she could not be lonely because she was with me, and so she must be hungry. She did not take this the right way at all. She rolled her eyes and started explaining how last year, 500,000 migrants crossed the Darien Gap and how difficult and dangerous the journey is. She pointed at me and said that if a 60-mile journey over mountainous rainforest is one of the most dangerous journeys you could attempt, then surely 1,300 miles walking across the frozen wasteland of Nunavut alone would be nearly impossible. I screamed back, nearly. I caught her in a web of logical fallacies. I said I did not want to fight anymore and that she should just respect my opinion and that we might never know the answer. To be clear, this woman is 12 years younger than me. Where has she walked? She slept over anyway, but only said she would stay if I agreed to disagree. I hate that. It does not seem fair. So what is it? Am I the asshole? You messed up. You were factually incorrect and disregarded her intellect by saying she must be hungry. She understood the parameters of the question, and you did not. Try being less emotionally attached to your mistaken idea that you are perfectly logical, and you won't have to assume people who disagree with you are not making sound arguments. Am I the jerk for getting snarky with my friend's girlfriend after watching their dogs for the long weekend? Hi all. It's a long one. I appreciate any insights. Long story short, my friend who has 2 large dogs, Great Pyrenees, decided to book a last-minute flight out of state on Wednesday night. He asked me if I would watch the dogs and just stop by his place to feed them twice a day until Sunday night. Keep in mind he asked me at 6 p.m. and left at 11 p.m. I know that he doesn't have any other person to ask, and I know he doesn't have the money to board them. So I agreed to do it for him. He was supposed to return tonight, Sunday, at 8 p.m. Earlier today, his girlfriend texted me and said that he got heat stroke and went to the hospital for an IV, so they were going to have to miss their flight because he was sleeping and recovering at a friend's house. They rebooked to tomorrow. I do share locations with him, and his phone died, but 40 minutes after he was allegedly taken to the hospital, his location was showing at a bar. The nearest hospital was about a 5-minute drive. This makes me feel like they could be lying about the hospital visit. Anyways, she didn't ask. Hey, this happened. Could you please take care of the dogs one more day? She just told me the situation and said they'd be back tomorrow. While I was asking a follow-up question, and you all aren't going to be making your 5:45 flight, she replied with, no me name, which I felt was pretty passive-aggressive. People my age know that a period means F off. None of her previous texts had periods at the end. I replied with, first off, I don't appreciate the attitude or her name. I'm doing you all a favor. There's more, mostly about how I always help them out with stuff and always seem to get screwed over because of it. Hours later, she responded, and that apparently sent her off a cliff. She sent me a super long text with many disrespectful comments about me. Things along the lines of, I'm sorry that I thought you being his best friend would actually be beneficial, and I'm sorry that all his reliable friends have moved out of state and you were our last resort. Then he wakes up and sends me, hey buddy, just woke up. We're gonna have a nice talk on Tuesday. I've bent over backwards helping him in any and every way possible. In fact, he currently owes me $850 because he borrowed it months ago to be able to make his mortgage payment. He has been paying me back very slowly and inconsistently. Looking at his location recently, it looks like he was out getting a tattoo. Anyways, am I the asshole for giving his girlfriend attitude given the situation? I think you are not in the wrong here. The fact that he asked to feed his dogs at the last minute is a major red flag, especially since it backed you into a corner. They left 2 large dogs home alone for many days and only asked you to stop by twice a day. That's incredibly irresponsible, and honestly, cutting off contact unless he apologizes sounds like the right move. Am I the jerk for relying on my friends because I'm tired of driving them everywhere? I've been friends with some of these people since middle and high school, and some more recently. I have a lot of love for all of my friends, but I'm starting to feel very used. I've always been the designated driver friend since high school when I got my first car. I honestly didn't mind it then. My friends in college had their own cars too, so I never had that problem then. Now that I'm living back in my hometown, I'm hanging with old and newly made friends more often. Some don't drive, some don't have cars, some just don't like to drive their own cars or make excuses and say they can't. I'm always the one picking everybody up and dropping everybody off. I've even been put in situations where I'm picking up a friend of a friend that I barely know. My friends don't ever offer to pay for gas, pay for parking, or clean up after themselves. I get a small, "I appreciate you" here and there, but I don't see any actions to show that. I started to fall back from my friendships when that feeling of being used got too strong. I was feeling like I was only being invited because they needed a ride there. One friend once invited me last minute to plans with two of our other friends and said, "Oh great, now that you're coming we don't have to Uber." I stopped saying yes to plans, said I was busy, and started making plans with other friends. I noticed that when they invited me to something and I said I couldn't go, I would see from their locations that they just didn't go. I've started to become very resentful and just feel like they only want me as a friend for what I can do for them. I stopped putting in energy to these friendships as well because I just felt like it wasn't being reciprocated, so now I'm hurt that I don't see them reaching out as much. I feel bad about it all though because I miss my friends, and now I feel like they walk on eggshells around me because of my animosity. I've literally brought this up in the past and recently, and it's still the same. I've been friends with some of these people since middle high school and some more recently, but I'm starting to feel very used. I'm always the one picking everybody up and dropping them off, yet my friends never offer to pay for gas or clean up after themselves. It feels like they only invite me because they need a ride, and when I say I can't go, they just don't go. I've started to become very resentful and feel like I'm only valued for what I can do for them, which has made me stop putting energy into these friendships. Am I the jerk for asking my narcissistic parent to stop commenting on my Instagram pictures? I am a 43-year-old female who has had a rocky relationship with my 81-year-old mother for many years. After countless broken boundaries, I decided to go no contact with most of my family. Despite her age, my mother is pretty independent and lives by herself. My brother, who lives closer to her, tends to be around more than all other siblings. She spends some months of the year with two of my sisters. I am only available to my family as needed. Mostly, no one contacts me, including my mother, unless they need money or something medically related requires my attention. I pay for her housing, phone, and internet, but I keep contact to only basic needs. I avoid personal conversations with my mother or family because they cannot seem to keep things private, even when I explicitly ask them to. A few years ago, I blocked her from all social media due to her constant inappropriate comments on my pictures and open channel to guilt-tripping direct messages. After some time, she promised to stop the behavior, so she was allowed on this Instagram account where I am barely active and can control what I share with my family. A couple of days ago, I received 4 back-to-back notifications on Instagram from my mother commenting on old pictures. Her comments were along the lines of trying to reach out to me, saying I am not answering her calls, that she needs to talk to me, and that she misses me so much. I became paranoid that people would see these comments and become aware of my no-contact situation, especially people from work and friends. I feel this information is very private and personal and does not need to be out in the world. Feeling overwhelmed, I reacted by calling my mother's landline and angrily asking her to stop posting comments on my Instagram. She then told me that she had tried calling and texting me, but my number was not going through. It turns out that while she was visiting my brother, she had a fall, needed stitches on her lip, and had some bruises. I started feeling really bad for getting angry at her, given the situation. But then the call dropped, and since I was feeling flustered, I decided to call her back at a later time. She called me right away. After we finished the call, she texted me that she was glad I finally called her. Did she not say the calls were not going through? Now I feel that all this was another one of her emotional manipulation tactics to get a reaction from me and give me the traditional guilt trip and trigger me, making me feel bad for being distant. So, am I the asshole here? A few days ago, the mother started commenting on old Instagram pictures, claiming she missed her and needed to talk. This made her paranoid that people, including work and friends, would find out about her no-contact situation. When the mother explained she had fallen and needed stitches, it seemed like another emotional manipulation tactic to get a reaction and guilt trip her. Now, it feels like it's time to block her again to avoid the constant boundary-breaking behavior. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.